Hey, what's going on, guys? It's David here from Gen ZO. This is the GM podcast. We are here in Bangkok, Thailand for DevCon. I'm here with Nadia. Nadia, how are you?
I am awesome. This is honestly the best event, Web3 event week I've been to.
Okay, nice. So I'd like to take the time for you to introduce yourself and your project as well.
So I've been in the blockchain space since 2017, was head of digital marketing for top 50 global pharma before that. Now it's significant that it was digital marketing. I started in what was then called that in 2012. So came into like the concept of being early to things before I came into Web3. And so post my pharma career, so I'm very used to regulation and compliance. Started traveling the world with my son. He was 10-year-old at the time, became a digital nomad, became world schoolers. It was amazing. I was finally, you have this, when you're at school, when you're at work, you have this sort of fantasy, like one day I'm going to be on a tropical island, lying down, doing nothing. That was what I envisioned, and I ended up doing that and got bored within a month. I was like, no, I'm not early retired. And I got the opportunity to work as a journalist, didn't need the money, wanted the experience, which happened to be in blockchain. So I ended up working for Bitcoin.com, investing.com, being crypto, etc., many years ago. And so this is really the entry point into the industry, was understanding it objectively, understanding the solutions and therefore the problems. A lot of these problems, I think we don't know exist until we get into the industry and we understand that there are solutions to things. And so from there, because of my marketing background, I very quickly got involved with, back in the day, ICOs, which of course now we don't, very thankfully so, don't really do anymore. So that was a wild time in crypto. That was kind of the start of, yes, there's a lot of ideals here, but there's also a lot of opportunity, and that sort of, tug and pull between the two started back then. And so for me as a career, have been here since, the start, involved with early stage companies. And in terms of AdLunam, which we started 3 years ago with my co-founder that I knew from 2017, we'd worked on different projects before in the past. AdLunam is a Web3 investment ecosystem. Now, ecosystem in the sense that it's a very specialized, let's say, period in a company's existence to go from private tokenized investments to go from private sale to public sale. Right, these days, the ICOs have evolved. They are called IDOs, initial DEX offerings. So those few months, let's say, in a company's life cycle is incredibly important, is a highly specialized skill that you wouldn't need to deal with otherwise. And so the reason that we are an ecosystem is because we understand that there's all these various facets. So we have an accelerator that works with early stage projects, and it's called Zero to IDO. So it really addresses all the different key elements, whether this is ensuring that they have the right advisors, for different areas of their business, whether it is connecting them to centralized exchanges for listing, to Launchpads for doing their IDO, to the media, to other partners. So, we have a network of over 700 partners in the industry, and it's really, we see ourselves as this sort of just a guiding light on the way. And so other than the accelerator, we also have a Launchpad. The Launchpad is launching next year. So the accelerator has been live. The company has existed for 3 years. So the Launchpad has a very unique focus. We take a proof of attention approach. So it's very much an attention economy, gamified. I don't only give to you, you give back to me. It's completely reciprocal. So we believe that engagement from retail investors in the Web3 space needs to be rewarded. They are the hype drivers, they are the FOMO creators, but they are not the ones that ultimately end up benefiting in the long term. And we always talk about how they are contributing to the problems, but we are really not rewarding them. And the reason that they are in the space very often is to be rewarded. Because we say that Web3 crypto is, the generational wealth builder, but it doesn't always work that way in practice. And then we also have media brands. So we have the Future of NFTs, which is a podcast that I host. It's really actually now the future of Web3. We talk to thought leaders in the space. So we've had Sony Pictures Entertainment, we've had Sports Illustrated. So really both Web3 native brands as well as those who are, kind of dipping a toe into the Web3 space and focusing on thought leadership around really what the future of technology and specifically the space holds. And then we also have diving into crypto. Of course, where we dive into crypto, also focusing on, discussions with thought leaders. And then we have Altcoin Observer, which is a different media brand. So all these really focus on supporting our ecosystem, getting the stories out there of those innovators and builders in the space who are worthy of being trusted, I would say. I think, the narratives in the space all ultimately boil down to trust.
Yeah.
And so whether you are creating a trusted environment for the B2B sector within Web3, or whether you are creating a trusted environment for retail investors, for us, straddling both worlds, we have the responsibility of making sure that everyone that we have a touch point with, we can trust them, they can trust us, there's a mutual trust. And I think as a nutshell being what we do, ultimately, there's a massive future for this industry and this technology, but it's only going to come to fruition if we do the right things at the right time. And so that's really, I guess, the mission of AdLunam and of Altcoin Observer.
Okay, nice. That's a great explanation, really, honestly. Now, before this, before we hopped on camera, you were kind of diving into the way the name came about. And I paused you because I wanted you to be able to share it with everyone else before I actually truly heard. So I gotta ask, you gotta tell me.
So I have to credit my co-founder, Jason Fernandez. He is the one who came up with the name. We both love space, so I'll start there. Well, this was actually not intended. It's just that I had nothing to wear after a week of 100 events. I love pixels for the win. And so we love space. We love, I guess, what it represents.
Yeah.
And there's so many big questions around it. Of course, in crypto, you also, I forgot to say, the meaning of it, Adlunam means to the moon in Latin. Now, this is both, I think, a play on when moon, which is something that we are very well familiar with in the space. But also, the moon has always captured our imaginations in the sense that, yes, it seems impossible. It seems like something so far off that maybe it can get done once, but it can't even get you can't even repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, what we are trying to do in a world where, we live in a crazy time right now. Crazy good, crazy bad, crazy everything, right?
Volatile in both ways.
Right, and here we are in this industry that has been volatile since the very start, but it's like volatile with a purpose. But it's like X-Men, right? Like X-Men, you can use your powers for good, you can use your powers for a little bit off the wrong path over there. So I think for us as an industry, we always have to strive. But then at the same time, you see now with SpaceX, they are saying, cool, we might have gone to the moon in the 60s, but let's go there again.
Yeah.
So it's not only about striving, we also actually have to take the steps to make that happen and realize the moon is very far off. It seems close when you look at it up in the sky, but there's a lot of prep work that needs to go in. And so in a nutshell, where the name came about, and then also we have another company that we will be releasing. That's been working on the idea that will come to fruition in the near future.
Can you share with us?
That is more around decentralized identity, but so that also similarly has a name in Latin that matches ad astra, means to the stars. So as I said, we love space.
Yeah. Okay, that's lovely. Like really, it's clever, it's beautiful, and it's absolutely fitting. Yeah. So let's go to the NFTs, okay? So this whole evolution of NFTs has been a wild ride. And we've seen a lot. Now, where did you kind of gain your, interest and excitement towards it?
First time that I heard about NFTs was in 2017 when I was asked to write about CryptoKitties. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason that was a thing is it was clogging up the Ethereum network. So people who were doing transactions for real business couldn't do so because suddenly everyone was buying cats. Like, what was that about? So I can honestly say I had exactly the same reaction then that people have in terms of the average person, normies, have in terms of NFTs today. I refuse to write about it, by the way. I was like, I'm a serious professional. I'm going to talk about this stuff. And yeah, full circle. Now I host the show.
Look at you now.
But I think the excitement comes in 2021, because of this interesting period of COVID that we had. Everyone had time to sit at home and basically reevaluate their life choices, because for so many people, I mean, I've been working remotely since 2012. Working at home was nothing new. My son had homeschooled since 2012. That was nothing new. You know, so for us, it wasn't a major change, but for a lot of people, it opened their eyes and, oh my God, what is this? Yeah. So I think for me, I'm not a fan of, personally, I'm not a fan of PFPs. It's not a use case for me as a person. I'm not a fan of art in the sense that I just don't have a use case for it. I find it amazing that it empowers artists. I find it amazing that some people are able to express themselves in that way, but those are not use cases for me. The way I see it is the fact that we have been able to develop a technology that has any number of innovation use cases. That is what excites me. The focus on my show initially was on NFTs. As I said, now it's more Web3. But the reason that NFTs was the thing that inspired me is in all the years in the industry, I've never seen so many normal people adopt in terms of just curiosity, what this is all about. Now, yes, that's because a picture sold for 70 gazillion billion dollars. And that always captures people's attention in the same way that the Bitcoin price always captures people's attention, right? But I think NFTs had this ability to make people understand that there's more to it than just cryptocurrency. And if you look at the actual use cases of NFTs, I mean, it can be the most boring use case and they might use an NFT, right? So it's about the underlying technology and what it enables that is not possible through any other technological solution. That is the question. I think we're very early there. You know, I always say whenever someone is working on an innovation, please reach out to me, please let me talk about it. We need to see more successful use cases of these things. But I also think we need to be gentle with ourselves. It's very early. I know this is everyone's favorite thing to say on Twitter, but it's true. Yeah. The Bitcoin white paper was released, I mean, like a breath ago, right? Yeah. AI started in the 60s. I mean, we only all started onboarding onto AI like, 2 years ago with the release of ChatGPT. But researchers have been working tirelessly for decades, probably making a whole bunch of mistakes that I'm not privy to because I'm not in the, behind the scenes of that industry like I am in this one. So yes, we make mistakes. Yes, we are learning a lot from the failures, but I think we are incrementally moving towards a future where we don't have to sit here talking about what the significance of NFTs are.
It'll just be.
It'll just be. Yeah. When it works, when it's the best, tool for the job, it'll be there.
Yeah. You said we've been, with AI since the 60s, right? One thing that I've kind of noticed is we slowly have been using it more than we think we have. Yeah. For example, at the grocery store, when you go to use self-checkout, that's a form of artificial intelligence right there. And we've been doing it for, since the early 2000s.
100.
And it's just awesome to see how the steps we've taken, right? So that kind of also brings me to my next thing I wanted to ask you is, with NFTs and the evolution of it, it's exciting to see how they're being used and what has become the value behind each one, and what's going to be the next thing that holds that value, right? Whether it's a sports team or a piece of property, or what do you think is going to be the next?
So I think that we need to evolve, and when I say we, I mean we as a collective. I think the next sort of trend that I spot is not necessarily one particular thing, but the fact that we would evolve how we see NFTs. Dynamic NFTs, for example, are an incredible technology in the sense. I'm going to use an example, right? So I have a coffee shop that's across from my house.
Actually.
An actual coffee.
Okay. Well, you used an example,
Well, yeah. You guys really exist, I know. And so they have a membership program, a loyalty program, right? It's become habit for me every time I go there to scan my little thing.
Yeah.
I'm getting free rewards. I never look at them. I never cash them out. But it's almost unthinkable to me not to scan because it's part of the ritual now.
Yeah.
It's not benefiting me and it's not really benefiting them, this relationship. It's just, it just so happens to be that this is now part of my routine. Now imagine that was a dynamic NFT. There could be things within that NFT, whether these are, rewards that I'm getting. These could be marketing material inside the NFT, but packaged in such a way that it's not going to feel like marketing to me. I want to engage with it. I want to have fun with it. So what I think is we are going to move away from what technology can do what. We are moving to an age where experience is everything. And if I'm experiencing with your brand, you've done a good job. If I am engaging with your brand passively, you've already lost me because you're a brand in passing. But any time that you give me an experience, that is a brand that I want a relationship with. Yeah. Now, what that experience looks like, I think like what I'm seeing now with the mini games explosion. I can play mini games on Netflix. I really don't want to.
Yeah.
I can play Netflix on LinkedIn. Games on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to. So yes, I'm grateful that you're trying to give me an experience, but that's not the experience I want. That's a very low-hanging fruit. That's almost a lazy way of doing things because you've seen that this is a trend and therefore, let's all hop on it. So I think the question is going to become, if I want this, let's say, user persona, in my business's sphere, what kind of experiences am I going to offer them on a more consistent basis, right? And then NFTs form part of that. As opposed to saying, a lot of the big brands have been experimenting with NFTs, Starbucks, Nike, Adidas, literally luxury brand after luxury brand.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it was, look, they almost have a responsibility to do that because it becomes a case study for the rest to follow. But I think for a lot of them, it was more of a hyped up, at the height of the season, the bull cycle, let's try this. I don't think there was as much of a strategy behind it. Whereas I think any time that something starts trickling down to the SME level, there's a lot more like long-term strategy behind it because resources are far more constrained. And so I think now, we work with and I know of and I speak to so many companies, some of which call themselves NFTs. I'll use an example. I wish I had my phone here, I would show you. There's one company they called Mint Pass. Now they are a travel experiences app, right? I've been using them now via DEF CON. They're not live yet, they're going live, I think the 14th, or is that today? Oh, they're going live today, well done. So what they do is you can travel and you can collect memories. But those memories can become NFTs. Now, whether you want to know it's an NFT or not is up to you. I happen to know it's an NFT. Go to their app, you won't see NFTs mentioned. Right? So I think that's really the future of us using these technologies is to make the technology invisible to the user. I don't care what browser you're using. I'm gonna care if I'm tech support, right? And my app is not working on your computer. I don't care the specs of this and that, but we are trying to over-explain blockchain and everything related to everyone, and they don't need to know. I genuinely still don't know how electricity works, and no one's ever going to quiz me on it, but I use it every day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, you're right. You don't. Some people do prefer to know, but really, as a consumer, maybe you don't really need to know.
Yeah.
So real quick, any misconceptions of NFTs? There's a lot of people we had talked about, they're outside, they don't know and don't realize that there's value. No, not that there is value behind them. And that's kind of buttoned up, as you could say, since when it really truly started. There's a lot of misconceptions of it. Would you like to address some of those misconceptions?
I am going to say that the truth is we don't yet understand what NFTs are or what they can do. If you think you have a definition, you're most likely, you don't have the full picture yet because it's an evolving thing. If you think it's a monkey picture, a JPEG, it can be. but it's so much more than that. It's like, imagine a multifaceted diamond. I mean, even you as a person, you are like this with me, you're like a different you with your cameraman and with, you know, your friends and your family and your colleagues. We are all different facets of ourselves. NFTs are exactly the same thing. Yeah. NFTs can mean a monkey JPEG to one person, but it can mean fractionalized real estate to a different person. I think it's too early for us to lock them into definitions. I think the question is, and I always come back to this, we have a whole bunch of amazing technologies that are out there. I mean, DEF CON is like the perfect place to come together to hear what's, you know, currently happening, what's going to be here in a few years. But why are we doing this? Like, what is the problem that we are solving? So if we are talking about what NFTs are because of what they are being used for, that's a particular set of people who have identified a problem that they are solving with NFTs. It doesn't mean that that's what NFTs solve. So you might 100% disagree with some of the use cases of NFTs. Mm-hmm. You can completely 100% agree with others. Yeah. So I think, you know, rather than me saying, oh, this is what NFTs are, I would challenge people and say, why don't you go out there, go see what you think it is. Start exposing yourself, because I think, you know, this is the key thing with Web3. We have a lot of echo chambers and a lot of bubbles. And you can think that what's happening in your bubble is what's happening. But then you take one step outside of it and you're like, wow, there's a whole other world there. Which is also why events like DEF CON that bring together such a diverse variety of people also help with that, you know, what's on the other side of the fence. But definitely a myth, I would say, is that we've already figured them out. Mm-hmm. We don't understand NFTs, we don't understand blockchain, we don't understand Web3. If we did, we wouldn't constantly be talking about the fact that we are figuring it out, right? Yeah. And that's great. We need to be figuring it out. When you're early to something, when you're solving problems that the retail market is not ready for, that mass adoption is not ready for, there's a lot of warts, there's a lot of pain, you know, like a lot of sleepless nights. But that's part of the journey. And one day when you've planted that tree and the next generation is sitting under it and, you know, having a nice day in the shade, that's when you get your reward. So if you're here and you're confused, or you're not in the space and you're also confused, it is really just part and parcel of us figuring out how we are going to actually use this in the real world.
Okay, nice, thank you. It's been a pleasure speaking to you about NFTs and hearing about your project and everything. Can we let the viewers know where we can follow you?
So for me personally, AdLunam, I think, is everywhere. Altcoin is also everywhere. Probably I'm everywhere too, but LinkedIn, definitely a firm favorite, as well as Twitter. Very interested to see how X is going to perform. It's busy becoming the super app, so maybe we see each other there more soon. Yeah. More there soon. But yeah, in terms of just general sort of, you know, why to follow us, I think if you are interested in the future of investments, especially tokenized investments, and really just the future of technology in the space and where it's going as a more cohesive, holistic approach. And then, of course, if you are a project, an innovator, founder, partner, reach out and happy to support.
Nadia, thank you so much.
It was amazing. Pleasure. Thank you so much. And yeah, just the most beautiful location to be able to film on set in Bangkok. Bitcoin is at an all-time high. Yeah, it's a special week. Thank you.
Absolutely.